This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 201. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On today's episode, we've got a jam-packed show for you. When I say jam-packed, I mean absolutely crazy. The Doc had the chance to sit down with one of the highest-rated wrestling superstars that's a free agent on the market right now. We're going to discuss what's going on with a Hall of Famer and his medical issues. Of course, we're going to take a look at AEW breaking records, and we're going to take a quick look at what's on the card for Bound for Glory. Of course, WWE had a massive event overseas. We're going to talk about that and all the ramifications and all the fallout. But I'd like to welcome in at this time. He's the guy who gets the A-list interviews. He's the one. He's the only. If you're not trying to beat the man, then you're not trying to be the man. He is the man. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. Cuz, you got to sit down with who this week?
It was great. Last weekend in Novi, there was the Motor City Comic-Con, and I got an opportunity to see the roster of who was there. And typically, I've always, you were there a couple years ago with Vito, and so I built a relationship with them. Now, being that we have SIO Lions, the podcast, and our growth, I threw out a credential request. And the funny part was they granted me the credential the Thursday before the event, which was a Friday. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to scramble, try to figure out how I'm going to get to Novi, work my schedule. And it was frantic, but I found a way to get the lay of the land Friday at noon. I just kind of walked around seeing where everything was. And then I had started to email and say, hey, I have an interview request. I would like to talk to Adam Scherr. And the lady had said, come find me and we can try to work this out. And so Saturday I planned it, and it was...
Hold on one second. For those who don't know, that's the formerly known Braun Strowman.
Absolutely. And so I saw the roster. Britt Baker was in town as well, but she was going to be there for Sunday, which is NFL game day, so that just didn't work out for how my schedule was going to work. Had I had a little bit more time to prepare, I could have maybe tried it for a Sunday morning, but that would have just been really crazy. So I emailed the lady and said, hey, I'm coming. I'm going to be there at this time. I walked up, and luckily Braun was just finishing up with his last set of 3 people that were in his line, and they took me right over to him, and I said, hey, I'm John Macaroon, and we had a 10-minute conversation, and it was great because afterwards, I didn't know until somebody had told me the wrestling website started to pick it up because I did actually ask them. In fact, you'll hear it now in this interview, the audio version. I asked it kind of in a clunky way, but I had basically said, are you kind of paying attention to AEW? Are you looking at other wrestling promotions because of AEW and all the hot matches they're having? And his answer led for, I think, a lot of people to speculate that he's had talks with AEW and other wrestling companies, and then word got out that day that a prominent Impact executive got to him just as well, maybe later on that night. So, Braun Strowman in his day speaks with John Macaroon and prominent wrestling executives. That's a good day for Braun Strowman, and you'll have a chance. You can read the transcript word for word on SI All Lions, but I also set it up perfectly so that you can hear from the man himself right now. This is Adam Scherr, formerly Braun Strowman, and he hints potentially that he wants to step back in the ring, but on his terms, and also hear from his other projects. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity now to have you guys listen to my interview with Braun Strowman.
Here today with Adam Scherr at Detroit Motor City Comic-Con. I'm John Macaroon with Sports Illustrated. Always enjoy an opportunity to talk to somebody in the world of professional wrestling. Adam, welcome to Detroit. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me, Detroit. It's been an awesome turnout here at Comic-Con. It's nice seeing people getting out and about, living their life and stuff. It's really cool seeing everybody dressing up, having fun out here today.
I'm always curious when wrestlers come to town in Detroit, what's been your experience when you've visited Detroit performing here in front of great wrestling fans? I've always noticed that this fan base, this marketplace, really knowledgeable, really passionate about wrestling.
No, it's been unbelievable, the fans and stuff that's come up to meet me and stuff here today. Like, it reminded me of some of the really cool times that I've had in matches that I did with WWE in town and stuff. So, yeah, it's just been fun. The energy is unbelievable. That's what I said. I did a thing with the Lions. A couple years, 2019, I came with WWE, flew out when they, on Thanksgiving, presented a title to them and stuff like that. So, yeah, the city's always been very welcome and accommodating for me when I come into town to work.
Absolutely. So I'm just curious, at this point in time, what have you been doing since your time away from the WWE?
Well, one, enjoying just, having some time down, running hard 8 years, being on the road for 6 years with WWE was an unbelievable opportunity, unbelievable experiences that I got to see in life, but I also missed out on a lot of things in life, in the normal day-to-day stuff with seeing my family, people getting married and births and, unfortunate funerals and stuff like that. So one, catching up on some of the day-to-day life, but I worked on a project with a fellow WWE superstar, EC3, who wrestles for Ring of Honor now. We produced all our stuff. It's called Control Your Narrative, but it's Free the Narrative. It's on Fight TV. There's a one out already, Free the Narrative 1, where EC3 wrestles Matt Cardona, and I'm in Free the Narrative 2. Basically, it's a 90-minute cinema. I've messed this word up 900 times today. Cinematic style wrestling. So it's more than wrestling. It's a movie where wrestling is involved, but we narrate over the top of it, and we tell stories of what the talent, what the wrestlers have gone through in life, trials and tribulations, and how they've overcome it. It's really based around mental health. I'm a very big advocate for mental health, and this was something, one, not only for me being able to express myself and get rid of some burdens and some problems that I was carrying inside of me and being able to talk and let it out, but it was also so many other people. There's so many other faces you recognize in it. Former WWE superstar Wesley Blake, who is Weston Blake now, wrestled Skylar, who's an Impact star. So there's a lot of faces in that, but it's basically a lot of day-to-day life, of controlling your narrative, controlling what you can control in your life, and then learning how to deal with the things that you can't control, coping with things, and being able to overcome these mental obstacles. And also with tying in with that, I've been working on a mental health app that I have coming out called Discuss. One of my business partners, John Paul DeGirio, one of the founders of Paul Mitchell, used to own Patron. He's one of the backers of it, and it's something very, very important to me that'll be launching out very, very soon. It's an app subscription on your phone that gives you licensed, certified mental health professionals in the palm of your hand, where you can FaceTime, you can phone call, you can text message for those days when you don't have someone to reach out to, when you're having a bad day, you're on the ledge and you need somebody to talk to. It gives people an opportunity to have someone to talk to so they don't do the irrational things, because everybody, it's such a stigma in the world, and I think with everything that's happened with the pandemic, it's opened a lot of people's eyes to being more observant about mental health and caring more about it. And the unbelievable opportunity that I had with WWE to be able to now to have this platform and this voice to be able to help other people around the world is very near and dear to me. And that's one of the things that I'm working on first and foremost the most right now before I decide who, where, what, when I put my wrestling boots back on.
It's such a pleasure then to talk to you. I'm also a psychologist licensed, and so mental health is very important to me, and for you speaking out on it is very much important, and we need more of that. And so I'm just curious, day-to-day life, how has it been kind of transitioning away from the hustle and bustle when the quiet kind of subsides just a little bit, away from the hustle and bustle of a big-time wrestling promotion?
The first little bit, it was scary because, that's all I knew for the last 8 years of my life. That's all I knew. But it's slowly now starting to get where, I'm 4 months, I guess it is, or right at 4 months post my WWE and stuff. And it's nice kind of transitioning back into not being so stressed out about stuff, not having to worry about, memorizing scripts, traveling, flying all over. In 2018 or 2019, I wrestled 198 matches and flew right at 700,000 miles and was just gone all the time. Big shout out to Marriott. I love your hotels. Y'all don't pay me, but you should. But I checked my Marriott app, and in 5 years, I slept in a Marriott 765 nights. So living out of a suitcase for 5 years, now having a chance to kind of step back into normal life, spending time with my family and my loved ones, my girlfriend, my friends, getting to work on my house that I've been building in Wisconsin, and just doing day-to-day stuff that I missed out on, and realizing having time to take a step back and reflect on how unbelievable the opportunity and the career that I had with WWE and the things that I was allotted to do there, the world that I got to see, travel around the world. I've wrestled on every continent on this earth. In 5 years, I stamped 4 passports full of visas. I've won Universal Championship. I was 2-time Raw Tag Team Champion. I was Money in the Bank, Andre the Giant Battle Memorial Royal winner, Greatest Royal Rumble winner, Intercontinental Champ. I might have said that already, but it's just, doing all that in such a short amount of time, and now having an opportunity to take a step back and go, wow. Holy cow, that's incredible. And then, now here having an opportunity to sit down, talk, and do meet and greet with the fans and stuff, and having sharing experiences and knowing how much like people lean on my character and stuff like that. Like I met a young lady earlier today, and I actually teared up talking to her because she talked about how that I've got her through so many things in life, and she like seeing my strength through my character helped her get through her day-to-day stuff in life. And that's at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. I mean, I had unbelievable, so much respect for WWE. I can't thank them enough for giving me such an unbelievable opportunity and a slingshot head forward into life to be able to help so many people around the world, and I'm looking to continue doing that heading on out.
Have you had a chance to peek in on the other side in terms of looking at AEW, the hot promotion now that's come up in terms of hot matches and things like that?
Yeah, that's what I said. We've sat down and discussed stuff like that with my agent and things like that, and we're just trying to find a fit now where everything kind of will work together with now that it's so many things that I'm working on in my personal life that I don't have as much time to devote to the full-time schedule to wrestle now. So it's trying to find somewhere where I'll be able to land in there to show up, have fun, and entertain the people, but still be able to work on my side projects so I was along the way.
Enjoyed our conversation with Adam Scherr, professional wrestler. I always want to ask, that moment when you get acknowledged by a wrestling company and you get the opportunity to win a title, what's that moment like when you get recognized and you have that match and you know you're going to walk away with a prestigious title?
Yeah, it's a great honor, you know. I mean, it's representing the company, representing the brand, and them showing that they have belief in you and what you do, that you're going to represent their company to the fullest of what they want their company, what their superstars, they want their champions to be portrayed as. So anytime I had an opportunity to hold a title with WWE, I was truly honored because, I mean, there's not many people in the world that get to say that they've done it. I mean, there's been, 8 Universal champions in history, and me being one of them, and, you know, being able to knock off the iconic Goldberg WWE Hall of Famer. I mean, that's not too many people can say they've done that.
Where can people, if they're interested, find out more about you and your projects moving forward?
A lot of the stuff is on my social media. Follow me at Adam Scherr 99. You can check out Free the Narrative is the website that is doing all the stuff with the Free the Narrative 2. The Free the Narrative 2 is available on Fight TV right now. And then, yeah, stay tuned. We'll be launching the Discuss app very soon here in the next week or so, hopefully getting that going. And then I have some more projects coming down the line, so just keep following me on social media. Same thing, Twitter, Adam Scherr 99. And I just started a TikTok. I think it's the exact same, Adam Scherr 99. I'm trying to learn how to do that. I'm not very tech savvy, but, yeah, that's where I keep most of the stuff up to date. Anybody that wants to follow along and take the journey with me, I welcome you to come on.
Fantastic job, cuz I didn't realize that he was such an advocate for mental health. Really, really outstanding job by you. He seems like he's a guy who kind of gets it all. And like we were talking, I think it was 2 weeks ago, he's a guy who wants to get back in the ring, but he seems a little bit guarded because of him putting all of his eggs in the WWE basket. And it just seemed like, for whatever reason, whether it was the dollar sign, whether it was the way that they kind of took care of him mentally, it just kind of seems like he's kind of a little bit, I don't want to say untrustworthy, but he's hedging his bets a little bit.
Yeah, make sure you stay tuned to later on in your news and notes. You might find out where Adam Scherr might show up next, because it might be when you're listening to this soon after. So it was fun. I always love the opportunity to talk to professional wrestlers. I thought he was gracious, and I think that anytime you can interact with somebody that wants to be interviewed and was passionate about it, it just makes the job so much easier. I asked him like 4 or 5 questions, and then to share just afterwards, I told him, thank you for sacrificing your body for our entertainment, and he was grateful to hear that. And I think that's all somebody of that caliber wants to hear, was the sacrifice was worth it, man. You put your body on the line for my entertainment. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's great. And I just thought, like I said, I did not know he was working on a mental health app. So when he said it, I was like, oh wow, maybe this universe, because of being me, myself being a mental health clinician, kind of the universe brought us together in that fashion. And it was great. I love the Comic-Con atmosphere. It was great. And it was all good, baby. And then it kicked off into this week where I think the general excitement was for, I think, one of the best Saudi Arabian shows they put out there. I thought Crown Jewel was spectacular and potentially had a match of the year candidate.
I mean, this pay-per-view might have been arguably WWE's best pay-per-view that they've done all year, possibly going back even last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was well-reviewed, timed perfectly. I think when you have the Usos in the kickoff show, that's pretty legit.
It's a pretty good show, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty good show, top to bottom, 10 matches. I think that when I threw out the tweet on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, I said, what do you guys think so far? And everybody just came back, because at the time, a Thursday noon is really not conducive for my schedule or really anybody.
It's a hard time to watch a show.
And then, it goes about 4 hours long, and you're like, oh my God, it's like women's match, universal title, and you got Goldberg, and you got all these great matches. Just the response for the Edge Rollins match, I got to sit through that in its entirety to review it. Oh my God.
Fantastic,
Seth Rollins nearly killed himself for our entertainment. I was like, what the heck? And Edge obviously deserved to get over, but the chemistry between those two, I could see that match again. And I think WWE has found a nice balance because Edge is a versatile wrestler, and then you have Seth Rollins, who I think is massively gaining from this relationship and these matches with Edge. This is what you wanted Edge for. Seth Rollins, even though he's not coming out ahead, he's coming out looking like an amazing performer, but it's something that I already knew. I thought it has the chance to be considered match of the year. It was one of the best Hell in the Cell matches I thought of the year.
Yeah, it was pretty fantastic, extremely violent. Like you said, Seth Rollins sacrificed every ounce of himself in that match. Now, I thought the most interesting thing with Crown Jewel was the way that they kind of set it up. Prior to Crown Jewels, it would basically be 1 or 2 episodes before they went over to Saudi Arabia, then they'd come back, and everything was pretty much forgotten. What they've done with this show is they built into it, and they've built coming out of it, which almost forced you to have to watch it. Like, in the past Crown Jewel episodes, we've kind of just followed along. I think we both watched the first one, but after that, we were just kind of like, all right, whatever. They're not going to do anything with any of these stories that are coming out of this, so we just kind of moved on from it. This one, though, I think WWE figured out the formula, and I think they booked it right, and it gave them, like we said, arguably one of their better pay-per-views of the year. Now, a ton happened at Crown Jewel. Now, no titles changed hands, but what you did get was you did have the coronation of your king and your queen of the ring. In this case, Xavier Woods was crowned king of the ring, and going into Crown Jewel on Thursday, leaving the Monday Night Raw episode, it really felt like it was Xavier Woods' time to shine. It really felt like he had to be the guy. And if not, there might have been a wrestling revolution as just everybody just got up in arms because it wasn't Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods, now king of the ring, takes over the crown. What do you think WWE has to do to capitalize on this for him? Remember, he's the last member of the New Day to not really get a strong singles push. Kofi, we had Kofi Mania. Big E's currently the champ. What do they do with Xavier Woods to really help capitalize and build on this momentum of him winning the King of the Ring?
Oh, you just put him in now some big singles matches, right? I thought in our wrestling conversations in our group chat with Kenny, I thought it came out perfect in that we were saying, would they consider putting the King of the Ring on Xavier Woods? And I think all of us were like, no way, it's going to be Finn Balor. And so to have Finn put over Xavier Woods, I thought was fantastic. I thought it was a very, very quality decision to have this person be featured because of all the work that he did. So I just thought that the opportunity that presented itself to really, really shine on a quality wrestler. Now you just say, okay, who do you put him in there with? You put him in there probably with a Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura. You start working him up there with some of the likes of maybe on SmackDown, Drew McIntyre. You know, you have the opportunity. The world's aplenty. You know, maybe even, a little jealousy feud with Hit Row. Whatever you want to do on SmackDown, you can handle your business because I thought the coronation was great. But I'll be honest, it would have been perfect to shock the world. Mm-hmm. You had Kofi Kingston, and I said it in our text thread.
Yep.
He's shining the light on him.
I thought it was great.
It was legit like a little tease. And I know it was put there to tease the potential because everybody would have loved to have seen it. I thought he should have dropped him. You could have had a feud now from October till WrestleMania. You could have told the story of betrayal. You could have had 4 or 5 matches. You could have had Kofi with a title. You could have just set the next storyline with – you could have just locked up 2 wrestlers for the next 6 months on all the things you could have did with that. But maybe they'll do it. Maybe they won't. Because the New Day sells merchandise like no other. But, man, it would have been great. He's fanning him with the belt, and boom, super kick. It would have been perfect. It would have been on the level of Shawn Michaels doing it. It would have been perfect. Sure. It would have been perfect. I'm like, come on, do it. And I thought for 1 nanosecond it might have happened. But then they panned back to the announcers, and my dreams of of wrestling, being shocked by wrestling were dashed. But hey, Xavier Woods deserved it, and his match was quality with Finn Balor. Just another testament to Finn Balor, man. What a wrestler.
I think the way you start this is you do something to kind of help elevate another wrestler, right? Xavier Woods is, I don't want to say he's a made man, but he's pretty damn close to being a made man. I think you start this in going off of what you said. You take Isaiah Swerve Scott from Hit Row. You bring him in to challenge Xavier Woods initially. Xavier Woods gets the win, but you really do gloss up and shine up Isaiah Swerve Scott, so it helps elevate him a little bit. You have them go back and forth for maybe about a month, just in a couple of matches, and you really help introduce him to the crowd as a singles competitor. You also get Xavier Woods kind of working on where he's going to take this new King of the Ring gimmick, and you allow it to kind of set its tracks, only to then have him jump onto somebody a little bit bigger, somebody who's elevated a little bit higher in the card. And I think maybe in the end, you do have him possibly challenge a guy like Drew McIntyre, only to have him beat Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre's got to put him over. So now he's up there on that level, and he can remain there for a little bit, but for it to all loop back around and have Isaiah Swerve Scott months later end up defeating him. Now what you've done is you really helped elevate a guy in the short term, and then in the long term, you've built him back up to where he seems like he's a feasible contender and he can dethrone Xavier Woods. I think that'd be a good way to help get a couple guys over, and it would really put Xavier Woods kind of on the map because you get a big win against Drew McIntyre, and then in the end, you're coming back, and Isaiah Swerve Scott's slowly building his way up, and you help elevate him as well. So it kind of works twofold there.
Did Goldberg earn another contract to wrestle 3 more matches?
I hope not.
When I was watching that, the only person I was thinking about, honestly, was you, because of the fact it wasn't still his greatest match, but it wasn't half bad.
It was better.
It was tolerable. And I thought that the high spot was cool. And, this one was not about the wrestling. It was about a story about a man defending the honor of his son. And here's the thing, which is really great, and I think this is why potentially WWE is willing to go to Saudi Arabia and put the likes of a 60-year-old dude in a wrestling match. The crowd was into it. Yeah. And so a hot crowd makes up for a shitty wrestling match. It is so uncanny, these Saudi Arabian crowds, what matches they kind of want to pop for and things like that. So to see the respect level given, it kind of makes you sit back and go, man, maybe us American fans are just too snobby in our desire to have all these young cats fly around the ring. They just were geeked to see Goldberg. And, they probably think he's still in his prime because in Saudi Arabia, potentially some of the people there might not have the most up-to-date internet, so they're probably getting, 1996 WCW matches. It's like, oh, he just came off of a Hogan win, and so you're like, no, guys. This is 20 years later. Goldberg has had a successful career. He's had 10 years off, and now he's come back. But, all kidding aside, I thought having Goldberg win was pretty cool. And for the fun of it, they could do one more if they ever go back there, or a Survivor Series, winner take all, or, a final time to kind of even the series out. But give credit to Bobby Lashley, man. He kind of made Goldberg look at least tolerable. Goldberg, I think, didn't get gassed until maybe 3 minutes in as opposed to 65 seconds. So I'm pretty happy.
I hope he doesn't get that contract extension. I do want him to just move on from him.
Yeah.
It's, like you said, it wasn't his worst match.
Goldberg. Walk it off, Bill. Walk it off. That was good enough. Walk it off.
It wasn't his worst match. So that was good because we've seen him go to Saudi Arabia and damn near kill The Undertaker. We've seen him go to Saudi Arabia and we've seen him blow up in 2 seconds against The Fiend. We've seen him have matches where it is potentially dangerous for the other competitor. This one, not so much. This was solidly done. I think the other big story coming out of Crown Jewel, which bled over into SmackDown, was the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns story.
Oh, baby. It was good.
I thought this was done so well.
So well.
So Brock and Roman have a really good match. They tell a really good story. In the end, Paul Heyman throws the title belt into the middle of the ring. Was it meant for Brock? Was it meant for Roman? In the end, Roman Reigns gets it, and hits Brock for the win. At the end, Heyman looks completely distraught at the top of the ramp. And you're not quite sure, was he throwing it to Brock? Was he throwing it to Roman? What was taking place here? I want to know what you think about the direction of this story, because I find this to be one of the best things that WWE is doing right now. And I usually hate Brock Lesnar. I usually hate everything that Brock Lesnar is involved in. But I love this. I think this is a fantastic story.
Yeah, in a way in which a physical match that's not really technical could still tell a story. And I think that's where WWE has picked up the ball in the last 30 to 45 days. They've realized, oh, wow, we have a trump card here that can wipe away shitty wrestling, which is tell a story, get people invested, get people to swerve, get people to care about one party or the other, the traditional heel versus babyface scenario in terms of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. So to tell that story, that wasn't the best wrestling match in the world. It was two brutes going at it. But you had the false finishes. You had the potential of who, and the beauty of this story is it's not really involving Brock and Roman because these guys have wrestled 50 times before. But the intriguing aspect, which is the basic one, is whose loyalty does Paul Heyman lie with at this time? Is it Roman? Is it the future? Is it Brock, the guy that Paul Heyman brought to the forefront and elevated to the standard of being one of the most over dudes that shows up 6 times a year? Seeing Brock Lesnar with regularity in a story, I mean, here's the thing. And I think that even though a lot of wrestlers had to lose their jobs, if a lot of it had to go to Brock Lesnar to get him to show up more for a story, because what ended up happening would be Brock Lesnar would show up for 2 weeks, have a match, and move on. And then he'd go away for 2 months with the title, which made no sense. So you just fork over the cash for Brock Lesnar for this extended storyline. What adds to the value is the next night on SmackDown from Saudi Arabia, Roman and Brock continue their story. And that's what wrestling fans like. I think I liked it. I enjoyed it. Now, we could do without the 15-minute stalling that Roman Reigns was doing. You could get this more concise. I always feel like WWE could cut their promos in half and get one more match in. Even if it's a jobber match, 8 minutes is probably my limit now of all these long, boring-ass intros and promos. But Roman Reigns did a good job. I'm not leaving. Brock comes out. The crowd still loves him. And him splitting the pants of Adam Pearce was classic and made everybody laugh. So I'm down with it. I'm down to see Brock more. And when you tell a story, when the combatants are actually in the picture, it makes for a better storyline. And I can't wait to see who should Paul Heyman go with. I think he should stick with Roman Reigns. I think the ultimate betrayal would be to think that, Brock thinking that Paul was actually coming, maybe even tease it a little bit and then have the ultimate betrayal at WrestleMania, because I think this is going to culminate at WrestleMania with Roman Reigns getting over again and being the champion for 2, maybe even 3 years.
Now, you mentioned something there when you were talking that I thought was really interesting. It's having the guy show up the next night. It's being able to have the guy to be able to build and build and build and build upon that story. Almost like taking Lego blocks and constructing something. You fast forward to SmackDown on Friday night, like you said, after the long promos, after they start kind of tussling a little bit, after Adam Pearce gets F5, next thing you know, Brock Lesnar is suspended indefinitely.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I don't
understand how you try to incorporate this guy and you try to build this story. Like he's a key component of it. Like yeah. Roman Reigns does a ton of heavy lifting by himself. Paul Heyman does a ton of heavy lifting by himself. Brock Lesnar can do some heavy lifting here. Put the 3 of them together and just run Fridays. Like WWE has such an opportunity in front of it, right? Like I get that you're on Fox and I get that you can draw more because you're on a local station, right? So you can beat AEW because that's what you're doing. Yeah. You're going head to head with AEW. You have a better time slot than AEW. That all makes sense. But you can really pull viewers in. Your viewership has been so low for so long. It's been forever since they cracked the 1 million mark. Put the 3 of these guys together and just let them do heavy lifting and tell a great story and build something to whatever pay-per-view you want to go to. You want to go to WrestleMania? Build it. These guys can do the work. So just do the damn work.
Absolutely. And you're only asking Braun now. He doesn't have to show up at Survivor Series. He doesn't have to show up at the monthly pay-per-views. Just once a week. He can live his whole life and show up once a week for the next 6 months. And that's it. 50 appearances for a year, 55, whatever it may be. Kick it up there to, instead of 3 million to 4 million, 5 million. Whatever it may be, pay the man. He's worth it. You're going to recoup it in sales, videos. You could even have, an exclusive, at this point in time, if Brock Lesnar did a tell-all 2-hour podcast with Stone Cold Steve Austin and you're on Peacock and you had to pay $10 for it, you get 500,000 people to pay it. You could pay his salary pretty easily if you just get out there and feature the man. But the one thing they did not need to do was include a suspension angle, which has been included in like 40 of his angles. And it's like, Brock Lesnar has been suspended for a record-setting 69th time. It's like, okay, it was a dud. And exactly. It took a little bit of the luster off of it, but we'll see what happens because Brock Lesnar kind of took that notion and body slammed and F5'd Adam Pearce. So we'll see if he's actually suspended or if it was just another stupid thing they decided to say. But Raw and SmackDown, I think I'm getting excited to see how the new rosters shake out. I thought SmackDown was a lot better than Raw. Raw, obviously, I think it's just continued to be highlighted by RKO and RK Bro. I thought Omos and AJ Styles, now their story that they're telling is amazing. And I am liking, it's crazy, but I don't think too many people are terribly surprised. But Bianca Belair owns that show. Like when the cameras, like when she's out there, it's kind of like, okay, Bianca's on top, and then there's all the rest trying to get her spot. She shines. She is somebody that you can't take your eyes off of. And it'll be great to see. The matches that she has with Charlotte are going to be fantastic. Or the matches that she did have with Charlotte were fantastic. Kind of the passing of the torch. I wasn't exactly thrilled with the ending that they had, not having a true finish. But hey, if you're going to plant, Bianca Belair as a mainstay on Raw, you've done a good job. And I'm excited to continue to see her growth. I can't wait now to see Monday what happens with the new roster and how everything shakes out. But SmackDown was decent. I thought a lot of stalling, obviously, after a Saudi Arabian show. But hey, to see Sasha and Charlotte get after it and potentially have a dark match, I thought it was really, really cool. And I just thought the switching of the titles gimmick was a little bit stupid. But what are you gonna do? I mean, it's WWE. You just one day you're the SmackDown champion and one day you're the Raw champion. I guess we'll just focus on the word champion for the time being.
So there's some breaking news coming out of that segment. Now, I think we both hated the exchanging of the titles between the women.
Oh, my God.
I am reading right now as you're speaking. Sorry. I'm just trying to get filled in on this. I happened to see this morning while I was taking a poop before our show. I take my pre-morning poops generally on our Saturday mornings before we start recording. I know nobody cares about that, but I did happen to see this, and while you were talking, I happened to try to get glossed up and familiarized with what took place on Friday night. So I'm going to read it verbatim from what I've got here, and this is coming from WrestleTalk.com. There was reportedly a heated backstage confrontation between Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair after the WWE SmackDown went off air. The show ended with the segment involving Flair and Lynch, where they were swapping their championships since they switched brands in the WWE draft. Per PW Insider, some moments that took place in the ring during the segment, including Flair throwing one of the belts on the ground, which was followed by Lynch throwing the other belt at Flair, were not planned. Flair had voiced concerns ahead of the segment about not wanting to look weak and not wanting her title reign to look weak by simply swapping titles in the manner that they had planned. When Becky Lynch left and Sasha Banks came out, the segment got back on course, and it clearly the building to Flair versus Banks in the future. But the situation continued backstage. There's reportedly an issue with Flair allegedly disrespecting Lynch by trying to make her look bad, and there was a heated situation and loud words exchanged, but nothing physical. It's almost like doing a title swap is a silly idea that shouldn't have been. So it sounds like, I mean, bro, to me, like Charlotte, like they've done such a bad job trying to kind of corral and rein in Charlotte. Just going off of this report, her ego is so damn huge. It's unreal. So Charlotte doesn't want to look weak, so she tries to disrespect Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch obviously not having it. Becky Lynch has been the centerpiece of that women's division for a while now. Even when she was away, she was still a centerpiece of that division. I know Bianca Belair's up here, and like you said, it's Bianca Belair is so interesting, and you just gravitate to her. She's fantastic. But I still think out of these two, it's Becky Lynch, it's Charlotte Flair. I know there's a ton of people who love Charlotte Flair. I'm going Becky Lynch all day long. I just think she's more interesting. I think she's a better in-ring competitor. I know that Charlotte Flair is absolutely incredible with all of her gymnastics work and she's so athletic, but I think Becky Lynch is a better wrestler, and I think it's shitty for somebody like Charlotte Flair, who should be the leader in the locker room for the ladies, to act the way she does. Absolutely bananas to me, and I think it was a bad segment that spilled over into the back.
Yeah, that's what happens. Emotions get the best of even the ladies, and it's just too bad. I thought you maybe also could have had opportunity to bring everybody together. The Four Horsewomen, I'm
Four
surprised.
Horsewomen would have been great.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they haven't done it yet. I know one of the Horsewomen is out for a long period of time, but could have had a new person, potentially join the mix there, but you can't when one person's not on the show. So we'll see what happens. What's caught your attention with AEW lately?
Well, before we do that, how about we touch on Bound for Glory? So they've got a big show this week. Impact's got a monster pay-per-view with Bound for Glory. We're going to tease it a little bit. Stick around for that news and notes segment. See who might show up for this, because there's some good stuff going on with Impact. So tell us about what's on this card.
Yeah, there could be a family member show up. You never know. Impact World Champion Christian Cage is going to take on Josh Alexander. I think the lead up to Bound for Glory has been quality. I think that you should be invested in a lot of these matches. I think that Bound for Glory has the potential to make some news with strong debuts and quality wrestling. And right now, the roster of Impact, they've done a good job by taking the talent that has been let go of WWE and really giving them the quality opportunity to shine. The Impact Knockouts Championship will be defended with Deonna Purrazzo taking on Mickie James. I expect Deonna Purrazzo to continue to hold on to the title. Mickie James is brought in now to give the women's division a little bit more class and cachet, and that should be a great match. Triple threat match for the vacant X Division title. Trey Miguel, Steve Maclin, and El Phantasmo, I think, could have the match of the night. I think that these guys have the potential to have real good chemistry.
Is it Trey Miguel's time?
Yes, it's Trey Miguel's time. It's his time, and I think he'll get it. If not, maybe El Phantasmo, but I think Trey Miguel has a real shot. And this one you're going to want to stick around for and pay attention, because some of the spots might be crazy out in Vegas. The Impact Knockouts Tag Team title will be defended with Decay taking on the Inspiration. And I think that people are going to want to see the debut there, and it's going to be fun. And I'm always of the opinion that tag team wrestling can always be enhanced. And when you have knockouts, the way in which Impact has done an amazing, stellar job of highlighting some of the women. So Havoc and Rosemary taking on the Inspiration. Maybe the Inspiration probably has the opportunity to get over here, but we'll see. On the other side, the Impact Tag Team Championship could have the opportunity to be, could have some fireworks as well. With the Good Brothers, the champs, taking on FinJuice, taking on the Bullet Club. I think this one has the opportunity to have a new title reign, maybe with Bullet Club, maybe with FinJuice. I think the Good Brothers have done a stellar job with the titles, but hey, it's a pay-per-view, so I think there's a chance that this one, if there's a title change, might end up being on the Impact Tag Team Champions. The 20-man Call Your Shot Gauntlet will be great. William Morrissey won a Battle Royal last week. It was quality. He gets to enter last, and you get an opportunity to see a nice, Call Your Shot Gauntlet. 20-man. Heath and a mystery partner are going to take on Violent by Design. You're going to have a 6-way match for the inaugural Impact Digital Media Championship with John Schuyler, Crazy Steve, Falaba, Jordan Grace, Chelsea Green, and Tennille Dashwood. That will take place in the pre-show. I like the name, the Digital Media Championship. So Bound for Glory, I think you should check it out and really, really, really pay attention to what's happening, because Impact is on its way up. And, a mystery partner, potentially? Maybe an opportunity for a debut. Maybe an opportunity for an interview later on in the show. Maybe. Stay tuned to see who that could be. Somebody potentially that you might have heard on this podcast. We'll see. I think Bound for Glory is going to be great. I can't wait to review it with you next week. I think Impact has done a great job. And especially when your executives are hitting, potentially hitting up free agents left and right and making the efforts that they make. I think that's quality, man. That's real quality. Las Vegas, baby, where entertainment always, always goes down.
Yeah, Impact's done a fantastic job trying to build up their talent, build up that roster by going out and grabbing some of those free agents and basically allowing them to be creative and do things that they want to try and experiment with things that they want to try to experiment with. I think it's fantastic. This looks to be a great show. Bound for Glory. It is Impact's WrestleMania. So this is going to be a fantastic show. Now, AEW. I think the biggest news coming out of last week, AEW and WWE went head-to-head for about 30 minutes last week.
Yes.
WWE basically loaded up and they said, we're going to go commercial-free on FS1 for the final 30 minutes of our show, and that's going to cut into AEW's time on Rampage, which takes place on TNT.
Yes.
And this is like the first time that the Friday night shows have done anything where there's been a segment where they've gone basically head-to-head. And it was going to be interesting to see who wins, because I think it's, by and large, everybody acknowledges AEW beat NXT when they would go head-to-head. That's part of the reason why NXT has moved their time slot. Now, I don't know if anybody expected AEW to actually beat WWE. And AEW, if you go by just the overnight ratings, just the overall ratings, WWE beat AEW. All right? So that is what it is. But if you dig a little bit deeper and you get into the key demographics, which are always the most important, you get into the key demographics, the 18 to 49 demographic, which is the one that is basically the gold standard for wrestling. When AEW and WWE were going head-to-head, AEW ended up drawing 328,000 to 285,000 over WWE. AEW beat WWE head-to-head for that 30 minutes, pulling that 18 to 49 demo, and this is the first time WWE has lost in a television's rating war to another wrestling competitor since 1995, since September of 1995. I want to know, what does this say about where WWE is at, and what does this say about where AEW is at? Because I think there's a lot we can kind of unpack from this, because this was one of those things where WWE built their show up to try to pull viewers away from AEW. AEW realized what was going on, and there was a call to arms by Tony Khan. Tony Khan was on everybody's site saying, you know what, you want to fight us? You want to go head-to-head? We're going to kick your ass. And I thought it was kind of boastful, and it was one of those things where you might not want to, overload your mouth a little bit here if that's a check you can't quite cash. But he cashed that check. He ended up winning. And I was shocked. I was stunned. To counter program, AEW even did, I think it was an hour before on YouTube, basically cutting into what WWE was doing on Fox Sports 1. So it is obvious to me that both of these organizations recognize each other and realize that each other are competition for one another, and they have no problem laying down a gauntlet. But overall, what do you think this says about where WWE is at now, and what do you think this says about where AEW is at right now?
There are so many variables, cuz, when we're evaluating wrestling. You and I are of the opinion that the wrestling storyline and the professional wrestling aspect of AEW has done a stellar job. But you now recognize that the competition has now forced WWE to take some of those aspects and incorporate it into their shows. So, if you wake the beast, Tony Khan is acting stupid, in my opinion. Run your show, build your brand, stop talking about the competitor, okay? Because the competitor is so far ahead of you. And I know the WWE has taken a little bit of shots, and the prevailing sentiment, kind of from what I've always kind of understood, is if you're the big dog, you don't really have to acknowledge the shots that are being taken at you from the little dog. But the little dog's always barking and chirping and saying, oh, we run this and we run that. So you have your big dog. Dude, I think if my ears heard me correctly, I think that Roman Reigns said, I defeated Daniel Bryan. I think I heard that in his promo. He went through the list of people he defeated, and He said, I defeated Daniel Bryan. I was like, okay, that's good. I like it. But in my opinion, Tony Khan, in Saudi Arabia, cuz, the one fee that they paid for 3 days of hobnobbing and eating hummus with the wrestlers, the WWE got paid more than AEW did from their whole television deal. 1 3-day stint. Okay? So stop with the notion of you're this and you're that. Your ratings are not trending upward. in terms of, massive year-over-year success and massive this and that. Your stuff is starting to get shifted all over the place.
Actually, their numbers are declining, and they've been declining pretty steadily on Friday nights.
Yes, so that's not what you're going to do, because here's the thing. If you look, it's great to try to draw pop. That's great. But still, the bottom line is you have to develop new stars. You have to develop crazy good content that's long-lasting, kind of like Reigns and Brock Lesnar. So moving forward, AEW, just shut up and focus on your own brand. Kind of sounds like a petulant podcaster who's always liked to talk about himself. There's something about these guys that's so unusual. They just like to talk about themselves and tell everybody what they're doing and try to compare themselves to the big dogs. It must be innate with these foreign leaders and things like that. I don't know. It's something about that. I'm not really sure.
I think you're right, though. At this point, AEW should just focus on its own product. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep building. You don't have the history that WWE has. And cool, you beat them for 30 minutes on a random Friday night in the middle of October. That's great. And I think it's great that you counter-programmed. I think that it's awesome that you want to get in competition with them, but just focus on you. And WWE doesn't necessarily have to acknowledge you. Like, do you remember back in the day when WCW was kicking the crap out of WWE, and live on air they announced that Mankind was going to win the championship? You know what that did? That swung everything. Like that moment swung that war. And after that, everybody tuned in to watch Mankind win the championship. And WCW never really was right after that. You guys don't have to go back and forth. I like some of the calling out, in the promos. I think that's cool. But you, like, as an organization, the organizations don't have to necessarily acknowledge each other. Like, AEW doesn't have to call out Vince McMahon in WWE. WWE doesn't have to try to counter-program and disrupt what AEW is doing. Just play in the sandbox together. It's okay. It'll be okay. And, WWE, like you said, is a much more powerful, much more solvent, much more steady brand than AEW is right now. I mean, at this moment in time, on Friday nights, AEW's ratings keep dwindling. They started off high and they have fallen since CM Punk showed up, and it's not really been the same. And to be honest with you, I think it is generally good programming that you get for that hour. It is a quick hour. It moves fast. But I don't necessarily think you miss anything. I don't think there's anything where you're like, oh, man, I missed that Friday night. Oh, crap, what happened? There's nothing ever really monumental that takes place. And maybe it's because they don't do pay-per-views every 4 weeks. So you're not getting that go-home show. But I don't feel like you're ever really missing anything crazy on an AEW Rampage. So it just play in the sandbox, boys. Play in the sandbox. You want some news and notes?
Hit me at this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What you got, Coz? What caught your attention?
All right, so Bray Wyatt, y'all remember him? We've been talking about him for a while now and speculating on a couple of different things. Now, he's tinkering with a new name for his return to the ring. So when his 90-day non-compete comes due, he's going to be looking at possibly changing his name, revamping a few things. Now, his 90-day non-compete will expire on October 29th. And Bray Wyatt is thinking about the next steps in his wrestling career. And per Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, the former WWE superstar is currently planning on using the name Wyndham as his ring name going forward. Now, Wyndham Rotunda is his legal name. WWE adopted the Bray Wyatt moniker from the two-time Universal Champ. And it sounds like this name will be used in AEW. Now, nothing is 100% yet, but that's what things are looking like. Now, your favorite NXT call-up disaster, Karrion Kross, is about to get another new gimmick change.
Come on, really?
According to a report from Wrestler Votes. All right, since his original debut on the main roster, while still the NXT champion, Karrion Kross showed up and immediately lost his undefeated streak to Jeff Hardy in about 2 minutes. You remember that? It was horrible. We bashed it. We thought it sucked. WWE has since then turned Kross into an action figure complete with a weird mask and bondage gear. Kind of looks like this bad thing out of an S&M horror story. But it appears he's going to have another change. According to WrestleVotes, the new character will be a calm, cool psycho, which, in all honesty, it's going to be a bit like his character was back in NXT. So, in my estimation, everything that they've done with Karrion Kross has been an absolute mess. Now, WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan was released from the hospital on Friday after going in emergency surgery. Per TMZ Sports, Duggan's wife, Deborah, shared the news on Instagram. After 2 nights, it said, her Instagram post said, after 2 nights in the hospital and emergency surgery yesterday, guess who just came home? Thank you to the amazing doctors and nurses at Crenshaw County Medical Center, which is now MUSC. Now home to fully recuperate. The post included a photo of Duggan in a wheelchair giving the thumbs up to the camera. So best wishes to Hacksaw and his family. Former WWE champion Braun Strowman, we teased this earlier. His real name, Adam Scherr, you listened to him earlier on this podcast, has reportedly found a new home. Now, per PW Insider, Scherr was spotted flying to Las Vegas from Chicago and is expected to debut on Saturday for Impact Wrestling in Saturday night's Bound for Glory show. Now, Scherr was reportedly spotted meeting with DSP's own Doc, as well as Impact executive Scott D'Amore last week at the Motor City Comic-Con, where the two sat for a long conversation. Doc got the short conversation. Strowman was released from WWE back on June 2nd. Obviously, his 90-day non-compete has elapsed. So, Adam Scherr, who's going to be going underneath the name, I believe it's Titan. That's what the rumors are. It's what the speculation is. He'll be showing up as Titan. Will possibly be showing up on Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory on Saturday night, and then possibly working with AEW going forward. So, look for all of that. That's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes.
Impact Wrestling landing a great competitor. I think that's really great. And I just think that it was cool that we got to see, our little podcast make a little bit of wrestling, wrestling kind of get in the mix there where all the sites take over our stuff and say, hey, this individual got to interview. And then guess what? When you have, an interview with the Doc, you end up getting the leeway to talk to Busted Open. So that was cool to see that, the promotion that he gave. And let me tell you something. When you do an interview that's, important and you get an opportunity to talk to somebody and they're cool to share it once, twice, and to say, oh yeah, reach out to my person and, they'll definitely share it and help you out. So when that gets shown, it's just an amazing opportunity and it's a trickle down effect where now you see how news spreads, where someone has a piece of information and then it kind of spreads out through all the other wrestling sites. So I didn't even know. I was just sitting there typing away at the line and someone said, hey man, all your stuff got spread around the internet with the Braun Strowman stuff. So I Googled it and there it was. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's really cool in regards to our little podcast and sports site doing our thing and interviewing a wrestler who's potentially going to be debuting tonight. So it's going to be really cool. From meeting the Doc to Impact, Bound for Glory, and a bunch of other great things. Adam Scherr is going to do great things. And Free the Narrative is really interesting. I liked it. It's a, cinematic style wrestling where they tell stories over it. So check it out. Check out the article and you can see Free the Narrative where you can get inside stories with EC3 and Adam Scherr and other wrestlers as well as they tell their stories about kind of their journey in wrestling and overcoming tough things. So really cool stuff and really good things ahead for everybody involved with the podcast, SI Alliance. Good things ahead. And like I said, I'll drive to Novi, come back, write a line story, see some clients, podcast with Adam, all for you guys because I love it. I think you guys recognize now that the Detroit Sports Podcast is here for the long haul. We're a fixture in the Detroit sports community, and I love breaking down wrestling with my cousin. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Anything going on in the world of wrestling, hit us up. We definitely are paying attention. Thank you guys for all the GIFs. Thank you guys for all the engagement. Anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast, just go and type in Detroit Sports Podcast. And when that old English D, that beautiful logo pops up, hit the subscribe button, and our daily content finds you. You don't got to do anything. You can be lazy. Hit the couch, and our podcast will find you each and every day when it pops up and hits the internet, and you can listen via the audio platform. Thanks, cuz. I can't wait to break down another week of wrestling on the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.